Hey everybody, welcome back to Pardon the Board Games. I'm Rob Snow, and I hope you guys are having a great day. Today, we're going to be looking at Star Wars Rebellion. Yes, this is a big game from Fantasy Flight Games. It's designed by Konieczka, who's a great designer over there. He designs lots of big, epic games. So we're going to look at the game, and some of the things that come in it, and how to play a little bit, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So, let me switch over here so we can see the game board. This is a huge game. Giant board here, lots of miniatures, including your favorite Death Star. And so, in this game, the Empire is trying to find the Rebels' hidden base, and the Rebels will have a special card that they've picked, possibly Bespin. Oh, you can't see it very well. So they'll pick a little card called, and they'll choose a hidden base, and they can pick one of many of them, but we'll just say that we've picked Bespin, and they'll keep this secret. Each turn, the Empire will get to flip two cards, and they'll find out two planets that the Rebel base is not on. The Empire wins the game when they discover and defeat all of the forces at the Rebel base. The Rebel base is represented over here because the troops aren't actually on a planet, but throughout the game, the Rebels will get to keep building more troops on their Rebel base. So even when the Empire finds that planet, they'll still have to defeat these troops to win the game. Each turn, the time track will move up one, and the Rebels also have an opportunity to complete objectives. For instance, one of the objectives is regional support. Play if all populous systems in one region have Rebel loyalty, and they would get one point. So if ever these two meet as they go along, if the turns and the points meet up, then the Rebels have won. They've gained enough support, and they've held out long enough for the Empire to not find them. This game is super fun. It really encompasses the movies. And during the game, you'll get a chance to recruit new leaders. And if you are, if you're the Rebels, you'll get to recruit really cool people like Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And if you are the Empire, you'll get to recruit a bunch of people that you've never heard of, like Admiral Orzel and Colonel Ulipin and General Veers, who actually I do recognize him from Hoth. He's in episode 5. But you'll be recruiting these heroes, and they're going to be the main people who do things for you in the game, because both the Rebels and the Empire have mission decks, and they'll be doing missions to help support their cause. So, for instance, one of them is for the Rebels is build an alliance, and we could assign somebody like Princess Leia. Oh, there she is, Princess Leia, to that. And because Princess Leia has 2 yellow markers on her, and this is a yellow card, she would get to roll 2 dice. If she went to somewhere on the map, say Utapau, she would get to try to convert that. However, at the same time, when she declares that she's going to try to convert that place, one of the other player may send Darth Vader also there. He also has 2 yellow skill points, and he would get to roll against her. So there's red and yellow dice here. I don't know if you can see them there, but they would each roll 2 dice, and whoever got more hits would win. So in this case, they tied for hits because this is the 2 hit and this is the 1 hit. And so when there's a tie, the person who was trying to succeed, who started it, still loses. They have to beat the other person. So Darth Vader would prevent that mission from happening. The other thing you can do with your leaders is you can take them to move troops around the board. So, for instance, if later on in the game, General Tarkin could move to, or we'll use the Empire. Let's say the Empire is looking to do things. He could come to Dathomir and he would move all of these troops in with him if he wanted to. So he could move those troops to his new location. Um, Planets are controlled either by rebels or the Empire. And when rebels control a planet, they'll put one of their rebel symbols down on it. When the Imperials control a planet, they'll put their Imperial symbol down on it. However, whenever the Empire moves into a system, regardless of who controls it or if it has no control, they will put down a subjugation token, which is a little stormtrooper there. As long as they keep people in that system, it is subjugated to the Empire, and they'll be able to use some of its resources, and they also take away the ability for the rebels to use any of their resources. If for any reason they leave that area, so for instance, here on Kashyyyk, if these guys moved off of there, they would lose the subjugation token and it would go back to being a rebel planet. When combat occurs, when troops enter the same area, so if General Tarkin was placed here, he could use ships from both of these two adjacent areas to move into the Rhodia system. And so this Star Destroyer and a Chicken Walker and this Star Destroyer and a bunch of TIE fighters and maybe another Rebel soldier, they could all come over, and that's where combat would happen. And combat happens in two phases. Now, because the Rebels don't have a hero there, they could send a hero. So maybe they'll send, maybe they've gotten lucky and they decide to send Luke Skywalker the Jedi to help defend in Rhodia. And everybody will get to draw some tactic cards, which are over here. I'll show them to you real fast. So while people are rolling dice in the space and the ground combat, they'll also get some space and ground combat cards to help them. And some of those, lots of artwork. Some of it from the, I don't think there's any screen captured artwork. It's all actually art that's done, so I like that. But like here's one, concentrate fire, re-roll up to 2 of your dice. There's also critical hit, just deal 1 damage to a unit. That's a ground combat card. So these help you in your dice rolling efforts. You can always choose to retreat from a combat to a safe location. So if after the first round maybe Luke's lost a fair amount of his ships, he could decide to retreat. Oh, let me put it on the big screen here. So if in this section here Luke could decide to retreat back to Botswana with his units, and then this would get a subjugation token. So Rhodia would become subject to the Empire. Over the course of the game, the rebels always have less plastic on the board. They have less miniatures, less troops, less ships. The Empire has a distinct advantage at the beginning when it comes to combat, but the goal of the game is not to win the combats. The goal is to, for the rebels, is to keep their secret base hidden. And the mission cards really drive the game. So they have the ability to move their secret base. They have the ability to do uprisings. They've got lots of different benefits. And then they can also gain really powerful allies. And they can even shuffle cards back into the probe deck so that they can't find them. The Empire has the ability to build massive ships like this Super Star Destroyer, which is almost as, I mean, it's bigger than the Death Star even. And when you build units, they'll go over here into a queue, and then each turn they'll move down, and then once they come here, you'll get to deploy them onto the board. What I love about this game is that you get to it constantly feels like the rebels are like one step away from defeat, and that the Empire is one step away from victory. But with the right mission cards or the right objectives, there are these glimmers of hope for the rebels. And I think that's my favorite thing about it, because hope is a big, that's so on brand for Star Wars in general. And I think that is what this game is really all about. It's just like, you're just hoping that, they don't find your hidden base, wherever it may be, or that if they do, they show up with a small enough force that you're able to defeat them and then move your base somewhere else. It's a really exciting game. It takes This is a game that takes some time to learn. There's actually 2 rule books. There's like a learn to play rule book, and then there's also like a rules reference. So it's not a game that you should just. This is not an hour-long family game. Also on the box it says it's for 2 to 4 players. The 2 to 4 player, the 3 and 4 player variant is not a whole lot. You're playing as teams, and you're just splitting up the actions that you would do one-on-one. So this is really a 2-player game. I guess you could have somebody come and be on your team, but you might as well just say, hey, do you want to be on my team? The 3 and 4 player rules variants they don't add that much to the game, and it really does feel like I could be playing this by myself if I wanted to. And so that's how I would recommend to play it, is just play one-on-one. It has just the right amount of luck and strategy. It's not a perfect information game where you know everything that's going to happen, but also, like, if you attack with 2 Star Destroyers and 3 Chicken Walkers and 10 TIE Fighters, like, you can be pretty well assured that you're going to defeat the 3 Rebel ground troops that are on the planet. They're not going to be able to get that lucky. And so, yeah, it's just super fun. It's got lots of character. The theme fits perfectly. I don't think that this game could be anything but a Star Wars game. You couldn't take this game and be like, and now it's Mickey Mouse Adventures. Like, it wouldn't be the same. So, great job to Corey Konieczka and Fantasy Flight Games for actually building a Star Wars game that feels like it can only be Star Wars. There's nothing else that it could be. You'll be moving around, getting resources. It always feels like the Empire has more resources and more planets. And yet at the same time, there's so many planets that the Empire has to try to get to. And some of them could be worthless. They could send their Death Star somewhere that doesn't make any sense. The Death Star there are special cards where you can actually destroy planets, and you put this big destroyed planet marker on it. Everything that you think you should be able to do in a Star Wars game, you get to do. Your heroes can be heroic, your ships can be heroic, and at the same time, there's those desperate moments. And if you're the Empire, you could build up a huge fleet and still not find the Rebel base. And as the Rebels, you could think that you've been as crafty as ever and still not be able to defeat the Empire. So I love this game. I think it's a great game. The miniatures are definitely board game quality, but they're good. It's obvious what everything is. It's not just like a bland blob of a ship. There's lots of detail on them, especially if you look at like some of these fun ones. Like here's an AT-AT. There's lots of detail on there, and you can see it. There was some effort put into making this look like an AT-AT. And yeah, so I mean, it's a really fun game. Great components. The cards are good. They're not like paper thin or anything like that. Everything feels very much like there's a lot of time and effort. These are good chunky cardboard. They're really thick, so they're not gonna like bend or break. It's just there's a lot of fun that happens here, and there's so much that could be covered in how to play the game and strategy and stuff like that. But I'll leave that for other videos. If you like Star Wars and you have 2 hours to sit down and play a big board game, and there is a fair amount of setup, so I would read the rule book beforehand, and I would for my brother and we just played this game a couple days ago, and I actually set everything up the night before just so that we wouldn't have to that we could cut that time out of game day. So it's a long game, but it's really fun, and I highly recommend it. Hope you guys are having a good day, and keep gaming, friends.